What was your worst, sucks to be right moment? Alright, I've been holding back on telling this one, but here goes. So I was in a really bad relationship for far too long, as is often the case. My ex called me up, still dating at the time, and said she had to talk to me. She told me she got a call from her ex and she'd get tested. She promised me and begged me to believe that she didn't cheat on me during the months she'd been living somewhere else. She said it happened before we started dating. I already knew this was some BS, but my head was spinning so much from the thought of what I could have that all I could mutter was, "Doctor, now!" After getting tested, results showed I got infected as well. Yay! Thank Christ it was something that can get cleared up after a couple of antibiotics, but still, no fun. She was still begging me to believe her that she didn't cheat, which I really know was BS because we have been dating for almost 2 years and there hasn't been any burning until the past couple weeks. I went through her phone and saw the guy who texted her. I'm so sorry for this. It had no name with it, so I googled it. Just so happens to be a guy both of us know. So I told her to take her stuff and get out. We were living together at the time. She was still yelling at me, furious. I didn't believe her. I still told her to leave. And she said to me, "Okay, I did, but I was forced to do it." I didn't buy it for various reasons, which turned out to be true, but going into them might reveal personal details. You'd think it would end there. But wait, there's more. Cue to the next day. I got a call. I didn't want to take it, and I got a text saying, "I really got to talk to you." Finally, I took the call. I'm pregnant. Ho, damn. Now I've got this sneaking suspicion in the back of my head. She tends to lie a lot, that this is bogus. This was backed up by my cousin who said, "She's lying, dude." I had that suspicion as well, but I was thinking, nobody's messed up enough to make that up, are they? So I talked to her because I have to figure out what's up. She said, "I kid you not, I can write this if I tried. If you break up with me, I'm keeping it, so at least I'll have something to love." I'm 22, freaked out, reasonably I'd say, and decided she must be telling the truth. Now you can call me an a-hole, but I decided I'm going to stay with her until she has the procedure. Then I leave as soon as I can. So one day, she went without me to Planned Parenthood, then took a pill. After a couple of more weeks of us together, I'm like, okay, I'm out of here. She screamed at me. "How could you leave me? I did everything for you. How could you leave me right now?" So I stayed for about another miserable month with the last person I wanted to spend time with, and then I kicked her out, finally. She tried to harm herself. Pretty bogus version. Started telling people I hurt her, etc., etc. That's a whole other story. Cut to 6 months later. Yes, there's more, unfortunately. I talked to her again. Mostly it was out of guilt on my part that I had kicked her out shortly after she had the procedure. She was telling me she loved me and I was telling her I loved her. I planned a trip to see her. She'd moved away under the pretense I was just going to see some other friends. I was really just going to see her. I found out 3 days before I headed out there the pregnancy was fake, the termination was fake, not to mention she was dating and living with one of my best friends. Ex-best friend. Is that a term? I'd asked her specifically when we talked, "Are you seeing anyone?" I'd asked her specifically if she was seeing this fellow because I'd seen some Facebook photos of them hanging out. She said no to both. But yeah, I was right. The only good news is that I haven't talked to her in a year and a half now. And last I heard, her life was pretty lonely and miserable. But mine's pretty awesome now. Story 2. Well, this one sucked to go through, but it is a happy ending. I started dating this girl I knew from high school, and we were both in college. In high school, she was really more of an acquaintance, and I didn't know too much about her or her family. Around her sophomore year of high school, she moved away. Cut to a few years later, when she's going to college about an hour from where I'm going, she and I start talking and hanging out. We develop an attraction and start dating. A few things I need to tell you before I move on. She told me she was on birth control, the shot you get once every few months or once a year, whatever. She wasn't, but she didn't get pregnant, thank God. She gave me some backstory about how her dad was a police officer who passed away in the line of duty, and she and her family somehow got a huge settlement from it. I had another friend whose dad was a firefighter and passed away in the line of duty. He and his mom did get a substantial amount of money from it, so it seemed plausible. I began to see red flags almost immediately after we started dating. She never offered to pay for anything, gave a backstory about how her last boyfriend made her pay for everything. I suppose it was an attempt to give me osmosis guilt or something and pay for all her stuff. She didn't have a debit card either. What adult doesn't have a debit card? I wondered. She wrote checks for everything when she did pay for something, and we'll get to that. In her apartment complex, she had a group of friends. We got along initially, but that quickly ended. When I would stay at her place, she would say, "Hey, I gotta go talk to friend X for a little bit. I'll be back in 30 minutes. She'd be gone for about an hour and a half. I had a sneaking suspicion about what was going on. Picture this. It's later in the evening, a party at one of her friends. She's there with a bunch of other people who don't know me. Me being her boyfriend, when I show up, I'm affectionate toward her and put my arms around her and whatnot, and I got these looks from everyone. As it turns out, she was involved with friend X and didn't tell anyone about me. Friend X and I talked it out and we realized she was the worst kind of person and we were okay with one another. Next, because I was young and stupid, she and I remained together. She decided she wanted to move to a town where I'm going to college. Oh, at this point, I should mention that she told me she drove a really nice Audi that I never saw. She came to the town and found a 4-bedroom townhouse to live in by herself. She paid for the deposit and a year of rent up front. I was still skeptical of her financial situation. Then she went to local mom-and-pop furniture place. They were a sweet older couple and dropped $10,000 in furniture. I thought there was no way someone would spend that much if they didn't actually have it. The furniture got delivered and we went grocery shopping, where she dropped another $1,000. The manager was highly suspicious and I vouched for her. He said he was going to see if the check cleared the next morning, and if it didn't, he'd call me. Sure enough, he called me and told me it bounced. He then informed me he's going to call the cops and get us both arrested. Yep, me too. He said I was liable for her actions. Untrue. I gave him my laptop to buy some until I got my friend's dad, who was an attorney, involved. That got things done. I got my stuff back, threw the deuces at her, and never looked back. If you need more, Friend X informed me that there was a warrant out for her arrest for writing hot checks in the town she used to live in, and he wanted to know if I'd help the police locate her. Friend X and I were in the parking lot when the cops showed up, and we watched our sociopath bum get hauled to jail. Story 3. I've had 3 instances in my life where I've woken up in the morning and known that something was going to go wrong that day. First time, 3rd grade, I woke up and went to school, telling my parents I loved them because I believed I wouldn't see them at the end of the day. I cuddled my dog and 2 cats, Calvin and Hobbs, and left in tears. I got pulled out of school after lunch. My house had caught fire. Wiring failures in the basement led to mainly smoke damage to the house, and all of my pets passed away. Best dog I ever had, and I can still smell smoke in that house. Second time. In high school, I went through my day watching my back, thinking someone was going to pass away in my family, being that this was the same feeling I had the day of the fire. I went to trampoline practice in the open gym afterwards. We had a guy on our team, Bob, who was working really hard on getting a double backflip. I pushed him to try it with me, throwing in the mat during open gym. He kicked out early and, sad to say, is now a quadriplegic. It will haunt me forever. Third time. About a month ago, working for a scuba place down in Florida, I woke up and got the oh crap spidey senses again. This led to me being totally freaked out about my family back home, or that someone was going to get injured scuba diving that day. At the end of the second dive in the morning, we got a call over the radio that there was a diver missing by the Duane, a wreck we frequented, and we went looking for him. We found the teenager with his dad next to him in bad shape, drifting on the surface about a mile away. When we got back to the dock, the mother had heard we brought the boy in. Her screams and tears of pure unfiltered agony are marked in my soul forever. Story 4. My wife's family has this ongoing drama with the oldest sibling, her sister, who is 32 this year. The sister, we'll call her Sarah, decided to marry a 20-year-old junkie 2 years ago. For some reason, she thought that marrying him would change him. Big surprise, it didn't. Myself, along with every other member of her family, tried to tell her that just because she married him didn't mean that he would stop cheating on her, tormenting her, emptying their bank account, stealing her stuff, and disappearing for an entire week at a time. She didn't really listen. So what did she decide to do? She decided to get pregnant. Yeah, he got clean for a bit, a whole 6 months. I even started to think I might have been wrong about him. Nope. 6 months after his son was born, Sarah called my wife up, sobbing that he'd been gone for days and she didn't have any money in her checking account. Don't get me wrong, I care about Sarah. I love her as if she were my real sister, but I do think she's the dumbest person on the planet. So what did she decide to do? Get pregnant again. Oh yeah, this time this baby will really force him to change his ways. Freaking genius. Now before anyone says we should have done more to help her, you don't know the whole story. Let's just say I'm not the only member of the family to fly cross-country to pack her stuff up and drive her dumb self back to the side of the continent, only to watch her drive her dumb self back in a few months. Yeah, this has happened more than once. We have pretty much, as a family, told her not to call us the next time he cheats on her, leaves her and the kids for days, or empties their bank account. Remember, you can't help people who don't want to be helped. Story 5. I'm 35 years old here, so I have more of a long-term strategy, but every day I see people, friends and family, struggle with stupid stuff that I've tried to let them know about, as friendly as possible, for years. I've known probably 100 people throughout my adult life, and about 20 are kind of messed up. I won't go into all of them, but one of my friends had an ego and thinks he's always right. He interrupts everyone with really argumentative statements to prove his intellectual superiority. He's very blunt, really straightforward. He's also damn smart. 99 percentiles in every test, yada yada. Yet he would suffer from unemployment and relationship issues. It's been like this since he was 19. He's 36 now and he just struggles with life. He's unemployed because every boss hated him. He goes out with girls on one date and then gets incredulous that they aren't into him. He goes on a date with a nice girl, but since she's not a knockout, he dismisses her. I saw this in his early 20s. I knew he would suck when life got serious, and it did. And what really sucks is that he's a really nice guy who means well. I try to help him out and steer him towards humility, openness, and pleasant conversations, but to no avail. Despite what I've said, he's a good friend who really deserves better. And yes, it sucks that I'm right. This is one of the few times I wanted to be wrong in terms of reading a person. Being right never felt so wrong, huh? Hey, if you're enjoying these Sucks to Be Right stories, hit the like and subscribe buttons if you haven't already. Thanks. Story 6. Approaching a year since my best friend's passing. She knew where her dad kept his special firearm, she had told me. We used to chat every day on the phone and she loved singing to my little boy. One evening, she called me, and we chatted about boys and other fun things. I asked if she wanted to talk to my son, and she happily agreed. I passed him the phone. He was just a little baby, only 6 months old. She sang to him, making him smile. It was our last chat. The next morning, I tried calling her but couldn't reach her. I tried again later, but she wasn't picking up. This wasn't unusual. She didn't always answer her phone. After a couple of days, her boyfriend messaged me on Facebook asking me to call him. I already knew what had happened. I knew I had lost my dear friend. She did it shortly after we spoke on the phone. She had been struggling with her feelings for a while, even though things seemed okay. I had a feeling she might do something drastic, but I didn't know when. My son still listens to her singing because we have a video of her on YouTube. I'm grateful to still see her smiling face and hear her lovely voice. Story 7. My friend was totally in love with this girl. He was extremely shy and didn't make a move until the summer before we all went to college. They started dating, and it was rather obvious that he was more into her than she was. I told him he should consider cutting things off with her slowly because long-distance relationships rarely work. This was true for them because they're two of the most attractive people I know. And when I say attractive, I don't mean pretty. I mean my friend has made a nice amount of money male modeling, a job he was offered in the street, and the girl is just amazing. 10 out of 10. My friend had never kissed a girl before her, and I knew that he would be destroyed if she cheated on him. I also knew that long-distance relationships in college go one of two ways. You get married after college, she didn't want this, or you have a horrible breakup. I was worried for my best friend. I didn't want him to miss being single in college, especially the way he looks. Broke up after a few months and he almost failed out because of depression. I forgot to mention he's a genius at a really good school. I never mentioned it to him because I knew he would take it as a I told you so. Story 8. A couple months ago, my cat was really ill and we couldn't determine what was wrong. I came home from the bar one night, and she's laying on the kitchen floor with her dishes, never done this before, and her eyes are crusted shut. She can barely stand, let alone let out a pathetic little meow. I lay down on the floor with her and sobbed, knowing she wouldn't make it another 24. About 16 years ago, I was dating a girl who went to school with a girl my dad was seeing. Yeah, she was 6 months older than me. A girl found out and warned me about their whole family being crazy. About 2 years ago, my uncle was in hospice because his cancer came back with a vengeance. I finally got a chance to go see him, look him in the eyes, and say goodbye. He couldn't talk and could barely move. He looked dreadful. Crypt Keeper dreadful. My most recent ex. I broke up with her about 5 months ago because she was crazy. I truly loved her, though, and she convinced me I was horribly verbal, so I started looking at myself and addressing that. We reconciled a few months later and we broke up again for the final time about a year and a half ago. Story 9. I was first depressed at a young age. My wonderful mom was trying everything to help me out, and one of the things I'd wanted was a cat. So we went to the shelter. Now all of them were cats, except this one, which was just a flurry, purring bundle of love. At first, I thought she was trying to crawl out of my arms, but it turned out she liked putting her paws on either side of your neck and going in for a hug. So she got her examination. They said she has a kitty kennel cuff that should clear up, but it's all good. She came home with me. Something about her torso felt a little lumpy, so I joked about it and called her Cancer Kitty. I mean, she had a name, but she was basically my favorite thing on the planet for 2 years. The lumps turned out to be huge internal tumors that, somehow, the vet had missed. She was love, warmth, and niceness up to the last moments of her life. We wouldn't have had money for surgery even if I'd known sooner, but it was still pretty awful. Story 10. I was dating a girl for a few months. Everything was going well, to my knowledge. Then one day she simply stopped talking to me. The last conversation consisted of her. I'm going to the movies with some friends tonight. Me. All right, well, let's do something this weekend. Her. Okay, I love you. That was the last time I talked to her in over 9 months. She never answered a phone call, text message, or anything, and she completely deleted me from her life. There was no real breakup. 9 months later, I started thinking, oh crap, what if I got her pregnant and she bailed on me? So I got on Facebook to try to find her to see if there were pregnancy pictures or baby pictures. Nothing. A completely private profile. I added her. She actually accepted. I browsed through the pictures and saw nothing. She messaged me and asked if we could get together. We met up. I asked her what the hell happened. She said that she got pregnant, freaked out, and bailed on me. She had a termination. I don't talk to her to this day. Yeah, I think you dodged a bullet there, buddy. Because relationships are based off of communication and, through thick and thin stuff. Story 11. That my mother wasn't coming back to pick up my siblings. My mother wasn't the best one on the planet. She gave me up to my grandparents when I was young, and later, after I turned 18 years old, she left them at my doorstep with no warning or explanation. It wasn't the first time they'd been left at my place with no warning, but somehow I knew that in this case, she wouldn't be back in a week after whatever binge she indulged in. I just knew this time, she wouldn't come back. I ended up spending 3 years working up to 2 different jobs at a time instead of going to college in order to take care of them. I didn't see her again for 10 years after she initially left him in my place. To be honest, I could have done without seeing her for another 10 years. Who knew being right can be such a drag sometimes? But on the flip side, being right can be rather satisfying. Head over to the next video. What's your satisfying called it moment? And don't miss story 4. It's definitely a win. See you there.